Hello everyone, this is Jack Frost with your weekly update for the Ethereum Technicals and Solana. Before we get into it, I want to say that we have had a little bit of concern within our confidence of the bullish or bearish movements, particularly for the short term. For markets, particularly the cryptocurrencies like Solana and Ethereum, we rely quite heavily on the Elliott Wave count for our bullish or bearish confirmation, particularly for the short to mid-term. And so unfortunately within these YouTube videos you will miss out on that part of the wave count for Ethereum, as we only do that for paid members, and particularly on a day-to-day basis it can be quite hard, particularly while price moves a little bit sideways like it has here previously. If you do have any concerns about these analysis videos, either within the quality of the videos itself or anything you want clarification on or explanation, we're always happy to listen to that as long as you're able to word it in a polite and respectful manner. And today I am updating the weekly charts. On the Ethereum weekly chart, price has increased after finding support at 2400, now moving up, getting a little bit closer to resistance at 2800. Volume supports downwards movement with the strongest volume on the bearish candlesticks and a push on this last short-term low just here. This push on the low, as I have mentioned in various previous videos, could indicate that the low may be sustained at this point, though we do still require bullish confirmation to see whether that low could be sustained, as it is possible that this push from volume and the increasing range is within the middle of a downwards movement or at the end of a downwards movement. If price does break above resistance, as you saw just previously, we would have that bullish confirmation, seeing the low to be sustained at least for the short term. ADX continues to increase with a bearish trend that is not extreme and not yet in danger of ending. On-balance volume has broken above resistance prior support, giving a bullish signal. RSI is neutral, overall declining after having entered overbought where price found its previous short-term high. Money flow neutral and increasing for the very short term, having previously declined after it also entered overbought, where price did find its previous short term high. ATR is overall flattening with a slight bearish slope for the very short term as price declines, giving a bullish outlook for volatility while ATR previously increased along with price. As this trend indicated by ADX is not yet extreme and not in danger of ending, it does expect price to continue lower, though as previously mentioned, with the increase in range and volume for the last short-term low, it is possible that that low could be sustained. We will have to see confidence in upwards movement to see whether this trend may end soon at this time frame. Though with the trend indicated by ADX, it does overall expect price to continue lower to where ADX may reach extreme or very extreme conditions, while RSI and money flow may enter oversold and or exhibit some divergence. On the Ethereum technical daily chart, price has overall moved sideways after this last short-term low where price found support at 2100, this last very short-term low where price failed to find support at 2100, with price now overall increasing, nearing resistance around 2720. For the mid-term, volume supports downwards movement, particularly with the pushes on these last very short-term lows, though for the short-term, volume sees some support for upwards movement with a push on these bullish candlesticks, particularly in relation to their neighboring bearish candlesticks. ATR is overall flat with a slight bearish slope for the short term as price increases, giving a bearish outlook for volatility at the daily time frame. As ADX declines for Ethereum at the daily time frame, we use the model of stochastics and support and resistance, which suggests a downward swing may occur soon towards support at 2400 or down to 2100 where price finds those support points while stochastics enters oversold. The current upward swing may be complete at this point where price finds resistance at 2720 and stochastics enters overbought. Additionally, as I mentioned previously, we do rely quite heavily on the Elliott Wave counts, particularly for short-term price movements, and as always the link to see that is in the description below. On the Solana weekly chart, this wave count sees primary wave 4 complete at this last low just here, with price now expected to overall increase for primary wave 5 and the end of cycle wave 3. Cycle wave 3 has a target calculated at 2887, which is the 11.09 extreme Fibonacci ratio between that and cycle wave 1. And as price has continued, it has found support at the lower edge of this Elliott channel, now expected to continue upwards. This Elliott channel drawn using Elliott's second technique from the end of primary wave 2 to the end of primary wave 4 with a copy on the end of primary wave 3. As it continues higher, primary wave 5 is expected to find resistance at the upper edge of this Elliott channel, though as this is a fifth wave ending a third wave 1 degree higher, it is possible for it to end with a blow off top, as is common for cryptocurrencies like Solana. That is a possibility to continue to be aware of. If it continues any lower, then primary wave 4 cannot move into primary wave 1 price territory at 26.4105. This low at the end of primary wave 4 on the weekly chart. As this low on the main daily chart, this wave count sees more detail for the downwards movement labeled primary wave 4, subdividing as a double combination, with price now expected to continue upwards for minute wave 3 within minor wave 1 of intermediate wave 1 of primary wave 5. A short-term confidence point is set at 162.7827, which would see Minute Wave 3 moving above the end of Minute Wave 1 just here, meeting that core Elliott Wave rule. A further high above 193.6182 would add further confidence to this wave count, as it is the invalidation for the alternate wave count, which you will see in a minute. And additionally, it would break the pattern of lower lows and lower highs, as shown throughout primary wave 4. For the very short term, a full green candlestick above and not touching this Elliott channel drawn around primary wave 4 would add confidence to this wave count. And this last candlestick just here has breached the upper edge, though as it does still touch the Elliott channel, it is not a full breakout. Within primary wave 5, any second wave corrective movement cannot move below its start at 111.4255, meaning if Minute Wave 2 just here wants to move any lower, it cannot move below this point. And on this alternate wave count, this wave count sees primary wave 4 incomplete to continue lower currently for the early stages of sub-Minuet wave 3 within Minuet wave 3 within Minute wave 3. Recent strength and upwards movement, particularly for sub-Minuet wave 2 just here, sees a little bit of concern for this alternate wave count. And additionally, as is the case with Elliott Wave, we use these alternates as secondary options, though we do favor the main wave count, expecting price to overall continue upwards. This best fit channel drawn around primary wave 4 may provide resistance if price continues upwards, though if price does continue above that point, it cannot move above the start of minor wave C at 193.6182. This would invalidate this wave count and see it be discarded. An additional low below 111.4255 would support this wave count, adding confidence, as it would see Minute Wave 3 moving below the end of Minute Wave 1 just here, meeting that core Elliott Wave rule. Additionally, that would invalidate the main wave count. And as I have mentioned in previous videos, this target range for the intermediate and minor degree movements sees where these waves may be labeled complete, with the targets calculated between 84.7439 and 95.3167. On the technical weekly chart, price has overall moved sideways after its last high at resistance at 210 with a slight bearish slope. For the very short term, price has increased after finding support at 127, getting a little bit closer to resistance at 157. Volume supports upwards movement at the weekly time frame with the strongest volume on these bullish candlesticks. Though a push on some of the bearish candlesticks sees a little bit of strength for downwards movement, volume does overall support the upwards movement. On balance, volume continues within a narrowing range, currently giving no signal. ATR has previously increased along with price, now moving overall sideways with a slight bearish slope along with price, giving a bullish outlook for volatility at the weekly time frame. And as ADX declines for Solana at the weekly time frame, the model of stochastics and support and resistance is used. This model suggests an upward swing may occur at this point towards resistance at 157 or 175, where price finds those resistance points and stochastics may enter overbought, where the previous downward swing may be complete, where stochastics failed to fully enter oversold, and price found support at 127. At this time frame, it supports the main wave count, seeing upwards movement to continue. On the technical daily chart for Solana, we can see where price has overall moved sideways for the very short term, increasing after finding support at 127, getting closer to resistance at 157. Volume overall supports upwards movement with the strongest volume on the bullish candlesticks, though some pushes on the recent bearish candlesticks, particularly this last one just here, sees some support for downwards movement, and very recently these candlesticks just below here have seen a strong decline in volume. This is standard movement for a consolidation and not cause for concern at this time frame. ADX now declining, showing no clear trend. ATR is overall flat after having steeply declined as price moves sideways. An overall bullish outlook for volatility at the daily time frame remains, where ATR previously increased along with price. And as ADX declines for Solana at the daily time frame as well, the model of stochastics and support and resistance is used. This model suggests an upward swing to continue towards resistance at 157 or up to 175, where price finds one of those resistance points, while stochastics may enter overbought. The previous downward swing being complete, where stochastics entered oversold and price found support at 127. That's all for me with your weekly update for Solana and the Ethereum technicals. I will be doing an update for this at the end of the week, though that will be a much shorter video. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you want to sign up for the Ethereum Elliott Wave count, you can do that at pureelliottwave.com using the link in the description below. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a good week.